Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports is Ordered. And do me a favor out there, America. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate. Do all the free things. Do all the good things. And thank you out there for the subscribers. You know what I'm saying? We had a nice uptick last week.
Yeah, we did. We had a jump in subscribers. Welcome to the show.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the show.
And the reason for that uptick is the rationality, the even-keeledness of this guy. You see, he was born in Texas. He was raised in VA, and now he represents New Jerusalem, even though he still thinks that the Jets suck. And he just has one wish, and that's for you to not bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
He is Mr. Logical. And then, of course, over here down in the Alamo, by way of the one and only Baltimore, Maryland, funny accents and all, I am your unorthodox statistician, 2-5. Somebody has to cheer for the Wizards. It's a dirty job, but I feel like I got to do it. So, yes, tonight we're going to talk about some college football. We're going to give you some bold NFL predictions. But it wouldn't be Sports Reports is Ordered if we didn't start it off with Get It Off My Chest right about now.
Yeah. Nice long weekend. Shout out to government work. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, speaking of work, I want to get the College Football Playoff Committee a little credit. I don't like 12. I know it's an even number. I didn't like the number. When I first heard of 4 for the College Football Playoff, I was like, that's not going to work, because I knew off the rip we're going to get 2 SEC schools, a Big Ten, and then everybody else is fighting for 4. So then people were saying 8. I'm like, all right, 8's a little better. But I'm like, we got so many teams. You know, I think 16 would have just matched up better. One versus, like you throw them in conferences or whatever the case may be, postseason conferences, 1 versus 8 versus 1, narrowed down that way. So they got 12. So everyone hated the 4 last year, especially. It was the whole conundrum of, like, do you let Texas in even though they lost to Oklahoma, but they beat Alabama? Do you let Bama in? And then end up being Florida State was the odd man out. They go to the bowl game. Half their players don't play. They get slacked by like 75 points. And it was tough, but they got beat by Georgia, a team that had been on the run. They had up to like 30 or 40 games in a row, winning a couple national championships. So like they were on up and up, but once again, they were outside of the 4. So we get to 12. And Florida State loses last week.
About to lose again, too.
And so, they lose. So I want to give credit. I believe it was Booker McFarland who said, he was like, the regular season used to mean something. I don't like these 12 teams. There's too many teams. And I'm looking at it like, what do you want? Because if you think about a situation now, a lot of these guys going to the draft, they're getting highlighted very early on in their high school careers, and the social media machine is driving it. So a lot of players know, I'm going to be a top 10 pick. I'm going to be a first-round pick. And that talent in college football is man amongst boys. And you want that entertainment. We need that entertainment piece. Caleb Williams behind USC's offensive line last year in the college football playoff would have looked a lot better than they looked in their bowl game, because he's a top talent. We take a guy like the guy out of Arizona. If the regular season, if they were in the running for the Big 12 championship and they get an opportunity to maybe play for the national championship, he probably stays. But, in the old system, they lose a couple of games. By October, he might shut it down for the season because it looked like he might be a top 10 pick, a top 5 pick. He don't want to get hurt. And that can happen everywhere. That can happen in every school. But given 12 spots, as long as you can hover around 16 and make a late push, you can go from 16 to 11 or 12 or something in that case. And it's very similar to my play-in argument. It's like it gives the player and the fan incentive and the product of the sport. That FSU Georgia Bowl game was not aesthetically pleasing. it's one thing if Georgia would have went out there and just dominated because they had more talent against the top talent that FSU had, but FSU talent didn't play. So, Booger, let them make it this way. 12 teams, we got a few years of it. Let it play out because we all know that the 4 was not sufficient. The 4 was less than desirable. The 4 did not work because there was a team always left out. At 12, listen, if you're 13, 14, 16, yeah, maybe you don't really deserve a shot. But 12, top 12, the top 10% of the 134 schools, that makes sense to me. Top 10% get an opportunity to play for a championship, that makes sense to me. So I figure you keep giving that opportunity. We'll keep getting great games. We won't get games with a bunch of guys who are ready to transfer. Florida State's probably looking like they might need another quarterback because the current quarterback isn't doing that well. You got a guy that's at another school. Like, you know what? Maybe I'll sit out and transfer to Florida State because it looks like DJ's not doing his job. I don't want guys thinking like that in October and November. But if guys are thinking like, hey, we beat Ole Miss next week, we're back in the running for this 12, and now we're in the 12-5 matchup, we can beat whoever, like I need that kind of optimism versus like I'm shutting it down because I'm transferring schools because we have no shot to play the title because there's only 4 spots.
Right. That makes perfect, absolute sense to me. So as I was sitting around watching college football this week, I thought about Jay-Z for a second. Oh. PSA allowed me to reintroduce myself. So as I had that thought, I thought to myself, SEC, welcome to college football. Welcome to what everyone else has been doing for the last 20 years or so. While you were sitting up here playing these neutral site games, like Georgia having neutral site games in the compressor, playing neutral site games at Jerry World, some of these other teams were actually going out on the road. Some of these other teams were playing other teams at their places. You had teams like Florida State and LSU lock up last year, and it made sense except for when they played each other the first time they played at the Superdome, and the second time, they played in Orlando. So as we look at these neutral site games, we go to Las Vegas, LSU and USC. A lot of LSU fans out here are upset that they even had to play this game on the West Coast, that it was a neutral site game, so on and so forth. And a wise man once told me, it's no fun when the rabbit has the gun. Nobody complained about neutral site games when they were playing in the Sugar Bowl down in Louisiana, the Orange Bowl down in Miami, the Citrus Bowl when it existed, the Capital One Bowl down in Tampa, Cotton Bowl down in Jerry World. Now all of a sudden, so Tennessee, on one hand, while we're out here complaining, was beating up on Chattanooga to the tune of 718 offensive yards. Ole Miss did even better than that, 772 against the mighty, mighty Paladins of Furman. Then you have Missouri with a 51-0 shutout against Murray State. You had Auburn with a 73-3 win against Alabama A&M. And let me let you in on a secret. North Dakota State and South Dakota State would have beat the shit out of all those teams I just named. So while we were sitting out here, myself included, criticizing Colorado for struggling with North Dakota State, lo and behold, at least they played a team worth a damn. So I'm sorry, LSU, that you haven't won a game season opening since 2019. I'm sorry that you decided to play Florida State instead of eating up on some cupcakes like Alabama did with my Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. I'm sorry that you had to go to Las Vegas and get pushed around by the Trojans. But all that said, welcome to college football. So now we take it around the nation. There was a lot of good football this weekend. There were a lot of blowouts, as I alluded to. So of
49 to
course,
0, Utah over Southern Utah, but that was at Rice Suckle Stadium.
right. So we'll take it back. We'll go back to Thursday. We'll do this chronologically. So let's
Okay.
start, Mr. Logical. What were your thoughts after watching Colorado on Thursday?
Shador looks official. And a couple of things I was thinking about this before, we had our meeting. I was just like, I've been playing this video game and I've been cussing at the TV saying, there's no way that happens. That's not real. I can't believe this happens. And then I watched Shador try to throw a slant pass that hits the defender's leg while he's on the ground, bounces in the air, and gets intercepted in the end zone. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay, that happens. And then if I'm playing defense in the video game and I'm covering Travis Hunter and I got my arm around his neck, he's not supposed to catch the ball one-handed and then bobble it and then catch it with two hands. That happened in real life. Another interception, a guy from Robert Morris against Utah State when he caught it jumping in the air, one-handed, looking the opposite direction. That happened. So the game is pretty realistic. But as far as the game Thursday, it was a great test. I saw a video. Bill Goldberg, the legendary wrestler, his son is on Colorado. In pregame, he was talking to his son, and he said, "This is not going to be a cakewalk by any means." He was like, "You need to be ready. It's not going to be a cakewalk," and it wasn't. North Dakota State championship pedigree. They recruit well. They are probably the top. They are the top dog in their avenue of college football. So they were able to compete. I mean, Shador threw 4 touchdowns, but that one interception was timely. It was in the red zone. That keeps them up. They were up at halftime. If it wasn't for that, like I believe it was like a 97-yard drive essentially to get Colorado inside the 10 so they can kick that field goal. They started inside their own 5. So you mean you play a little tighter defense here. You're going into halftime up 6 versus up 3, but either way you're still up at halftime. So I think they show well. Like you said, I think they probably would have beat a lot of other teams. But like some argument, and we talked about this in our pre-meeting. Sometimes with college football, it boils down to: are you superior intellectually at your coaching, your head coach, and the staff? But is your head coach head and shoulders above the guy he's coaching against? I think Dion is kind of in that space as far as like his ability to just kind of galvanize people. Do you have an ultimate playmaker at quarterback? And then you have a dynamic player that just you put him out there and the shit just happens for you. Colorado has that. I don't know if every team has that. You talk about LSU, and we'll get to that, but I don't think every team has that piece. And I think if you have that in college football, that's how you get that 90-yard drive to get a field goal at the end of the half, having those kind of players. And that coaching, like that coaching events, Alabama's, and remember Lou Holtz back in the day, and even like the old Colorado teams, like having that dynamic where you have a piece that they don't have, and I think Colorado had that against North Dakota State.
Yeah, so with Colorado, I came into the season with some questions. I still have the same questions. Can they stop the run and can they run the ball? They brought in Hayden from Ohio State, Dallas Hayden, and I was expecting him to come. And it was just one game, so I don't want to overreact. I know that's the thing we do in the sports world nowadays is we overreact to everything. I don't want to do that, but 19 yards ain't going to cut it. You got to go to Lincoln this weekend for a night game against the Cornhuskers, who are trying to use you to make a name for themselves because they haven't been to a bowl game since 2017. So what I wanted to see is I wanted the end of the first quarter 21-7. Now, this is North Dakota State. So I'm not even saying, hey, Colorado, you had to go win that game by 30. But for reference point, what's the difference between you and Oklahoma State? Oklahoma State smacked around the defending national champion South Dakota State Jackrabbits by 24 points. You held on by 5 yards to their runner-up. And it gets creepy, right? Because you start looking at the referees, you start looking at things, and you don't want to play that game. And then you look at it and you say to yourself, well, there was a targeting that was missed on North Dakota State's last drive that would have made that last throw 15 yards closer, because we know Cam Miller didn't have the arm to get it to the end zone.
Yeah, it came up.
There was
very short.
Yeah, there were 5 seconds.
And that dude still caught it.
And he still caught it. And there were 5 seconds. There were 5 seconds that ran off the clock that shouldn't have when the refs were spotting the ball a couple of plays prior. So, granted, there was also a targeting that was missed on North Dakota State on Shador on the previous possession. So that goes without saying. Yeah, I don't know if Shador is the number 1 draft pick right now. I think he has the ability to play himself into being the number 1 draft pick. But as of right now, I wouldn't say he is. But I think he could end up that way. But
I would say it would. He might. I think he'll be the first quarterback.
Yeah, he'll be the first quarterback for sure. Yes.
I think the 2 teams that we're kind of projecting as potentially being the worst 2 teams and having the number 1 pick are New England and Carolina potentially, and I think they've already got their quarterback.
Rose started.
But I think he's probably positioned himself to be the number 1 quarterback taken, definitely over Carson Beck. I think if you had to choose,
Carson Beck still can't throw it across the middle. That's going to be his Achilles heel, if you will. He's not quite DJ Uiagalelei, but we'll see if he can redeem himself in the rest of this game. But so when I look at Colorado, I also question their linebackers. They just seem to get lost in space. North Dakota State wasn't really doing anything as far as, trick plays or just
they're running quarterback power. It just was like,
and it was just working, so that concerns me.
He was getting like 7 yards of run on those quarterback power plays.
That concerns me when you have Utah on your schedule, when you have Oklahoma State and Ollie Gordon on your schedule, when you have Kansas State on your schedule, when you have Jalen Daniels and the Jayhawks on your schedule. That concerns me. But alas, it was just one game, so I'm not going to go too crazy. But Mr. Logical,
I'm listening.
How about our Iowa Hawkeyes? They scored 40 points.
Yeah, but that 40 would have been 60 by any other school.
But you got to take progress where you can get it. Their wide receivers had 3 second-half touchdowns in that game.
And I think they had like 4 in the last 2 years.
They had 5 in the last 2 years. You know what I mean? So you got to take progress where you can get it. And
so that touchdown against Nebraska.
I'm looking forward to this weekend because they host the Cyclones, the Fighting Brock Purdy's this weekend. So, I'm here for that game. Let's talk about Clemson and Georgia. When I looked at that game, and I know the knock on Dabo is, hey, he needs to get in this transfer portal. And I don't disagree.
He absolutely needs to. Four teams didn't get a transfer, and I'll tell you who they are in a second.
But there wasn't enough transfers in this world that would have had them beating Georgia this weekend.
Hey, listen, I don't care. Georgia's not the only team on the schedule. You gotta. Dabo Swinney is a dinosaur in a world of lizards. It's cool being, Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's cool being a Brontosaurus, but you're extinct. It's lizards out there now. Things have evolved. You got to get with the program. And his logic, once again, I'm big on that, doesn't make any sense. Either you are incapable of handling the process or your ego won't allow you. Because I personally don't. If you are stuck, I want to say stuck because I don't want to be condescending. If you are just accustomed to recruiting high school players who've been developed in the high school program, and then you get to your school, but these high school kids are transferring. You're not going to public high schools getting your players because that's the way you used to do it. When you and I were in high school, what we got? Got a little something for the state. When you and I were in high school, Michael Vick got recruited out of the public high school in my city. Ronald Curry got recruited to North Carolina and UV out of the public high school in my city. Now, to get recruited 5-star top recruits, top schools, you got to go to probably a private school or play at a private school or play on some championship level national thing. So it changed. So he's out here acting as if that didn't change. So your players that you're getting aren't even the old way you got it when he came out of school. So now you got to get transfers. You got to do it because 4 schools didn't get a transfer: Army, Navy, Air Force, Clemson. 3 of them have something in common, and 3 of them have a reason they don't have transfers because there's a post college obligation established for those other 3 service academies. Clemson, you trying to win football games, you need to get you guys that can help you win football games. It's that simple. Especially, like I said, I'm going to harp on this all year long. When you aren't dynamic at quarterback, you need playmakers everywhere. And they're not. And it's like you can have any kind of feeling you want about it, but when it boils down to it, it was 13-3. I got up, I went to go take a shower. My showers aren't that long. Came back, do-rag on, sat down, looked at the screen. It was 27-3. I wasn't going that long. And then Georgia was getting the ball back, go up 34-3.
Right. And see, the thing is that, to your point, Clemson doesn't have to play Georgia again. Like, we see what Florida State looks like right now. Last week could have been a fluke. It wasn't. Virginia Tech lost to Vandy this week.
Vandy's SEC school, at least.
NC State was in a fourth quarter battle with the Western Carolina Catamounts. You know what I mean? And then they got to go deal with Nico this week. So, we'll see how that goes. But so when you look at the rest of Clemson's schedule, and they got Appalachian State this week, which could be a tough game. We know Appalachian State to bite, harder than they should. So
it could be like how Michigan was. Michigan was top. They were top 5 preseason, and I believe they had lost. They lost a game the week before, and people were like, you know what? It's fine. They'll be all right.
Well, no, that was the first game. They lost that one. Then they lost to Oregon the next week.
Yeah. And then it was like they're out of the top 25.
Mm-hmm.
And, the rest of that season, I can't really recall how it played out, but I remember
they went 9-4 and actually beat Florida in the bowl game.
Well, they started off poorly.
and so like Clemson, like I said, it was a 6-0 game at halftime. Clemson has talent, but like I asked, last week when we did our ACC preview, I said, where are Clemson's wide receivers? I like Antoine Williams. He got hurt last year. So we'll see if he can stay healthy this year, but they have no other receiver that's worth a damn.
And that's the thing. In college, these guys are so open. I mean, you got to think about this. It's 22 guys on the field. Realistically, you got about 4 to 6 NFL prospects. And they're not all, strategically placed on the field. So there's going to be corners out there that are just playing corner because they're just in school and they like to play football. If you have a good enough quarterback, he can throw any wide receiver open. You don't need to be great route runners in college football to get open. That's why a lot of guys get big numbers in college and then get to the NFL, and now they break down, okay, this guy doesn't have a great release off the line, but in college, when you're 6'4", 205, and your corner is 5'9", 185, you could just push him around and score. So your quarterback and your play caller and your coach, if your coach is understanding like what the hell's going on in the world of college football, can do that. Cade Klubnik is not that guy.
No, he went 18 to 29, 142 and a pick. And, so it makes me wonder, Garrett Riley, we talked about this. He was the offensive coordinator at TCU, took Max Duggan and the gang to the national title game. Of course, they got split up by guess who? Georgia. But, but when you look at him coming to Clemson, I was excited because I thought Clemson was at a place where their style was real antiquated and old school, where they were still playing a different football than everybody else was evolving to, so I thought that hiring Garrett Riley, brother of Lincoln, was going to be a great hire. It hasn't planned out that way so far, but I don't know if it's because, for example,
when's the last time Clemson looked good? When's the last time Clemson looked like
when they had Sunshine under center? That's where,
and before that,
when they had Deshaun Watson under center.
Same coach, probably same philosophy, same style.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up about
quarterback.
James Franklin. Remember last year, even though he's the head coach, not the offensive coordinator, and the reporter had asked him, like, hey, you're going to take some deep shots? And he's like, I don't even know what you're saying to me right now. Like, you're making me uncomfortable. And you know, so that's why I wonder if Dabo has a certain level of conservatism that doesn't allow the playbook to open, or has Garrett Riley just decided this ain't the guy to run my system?
That's the thing. When you have the guy, the system is the guy. In college football, when you have Gino Auriemma, famous quote, we had Diana, they didn't. When you have that player, your system is great. Your system's a great philosophy. The triangle is great with Jordan and Kobe.
Not so much with Carmelo, huh?
I don't know if the triangle is as great with, and I like Gilbert Arenas. I don't know if he gets you the same success level as Kobe, and I think he's a great basketball player. But your system needs people to operate it. Like, you could put me behind an F1 race car right now. I'm not winning any races. It's the same car, but you put Lewis Hamilton in it, and you're winning races. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Also, you're a champion. Me, I'm crashing. I'm crashing that car because I'm not built for that system.
Right.
He is. And I think that was going to have to figure out, like, yo, what do I got to do? Somebody else has got to figure out what's going on. I don't know what's happening with Napier in Florida, but
oh yeah, let's transition there then.
It's one thing to lose, but then we saw the post. I forgot the player's name, but he was in a locker room and he posted on his Instagram, "Fuck this team." Now, he could have been talking about Miami, but it's probably unlikely. How do you lose your team week one?
Because he never had them in the first place. Like, when you go back, we talked about this. When you go back and look at Florida last year, their last 5 games of last season, they gave up more than 38 points a game. You know, you come into this season, you start off week 1, in-state rivalry. You're supposed to be charged up. You're supposed to be ready to chomp at the bit.
At home.
At home.
In-state, at home, sold-out crowd. The swamp is packed.
And all that happened is Cam Ward put himself on the Heisman map. That's all.
Transfer portal.
You know, transfer portal. Dabo. You know, he comes in there. You know, and he put on a show. He upped his record to 5-8 on the road now. So, you know, Florida had 261 total yards in that game. 71 of them came on a touchdown run. You know what I mean? So we knew Billy Napier was in trouble. They get Samford this weekend. So, I mean, God protect him if he loses that game. But
yeah, you got to win.
You know, but he's 1-10.
42 to nothing.
He's 1-10 against his rivals. So, you know, you could argue that he probably shouldn't have made it this far. You know,
you said he was 1-10 against his rivals?
Yep. So he beat Tennessee.
That includes this year.
Beat Tennessee once. You know, that's Florida State, LSU, Georgia, in this game against Miami.
So he was 1-9 before this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like a Ryan Day Franklin kind of situation.
And they got rid of Dan Mullen for no reason. I mean, you know, they were losing some games, but it wasn't like this, you know. So then, you know, not only that, where does Florida play? What's the name of that stadium? What they call it?
Apparently it's the Swamp.
The Swamp. They have not won in the Swamp since October 7th.
They haven't won a home game since October?
Since October 7th. They lost to Florida State's third-string quarterback at home last year to close the season. So, you know, Billy Napier, like, I don't know what they're waiting for. I'm not saying maybe you don't fire him after game 1, but he probably shouldn't have just been back this year in the first place. I put it like that. So, like, looking at their schedule this year, you know, they still got to play Ole Miss. They still got to play LSU. They still got to play Georgia. They got to come to Tallahassee. You know,
apparently
they still play Tennessee.
Per the ESPN analytics, it is the toughest FBS schedule.
It's probably the toughest schedule in history, to be honest with you. I don't want to be hyperbolic.
But they said it's the toughest this year. I thought I think we had notes on somebody else's schedule being like ridiculous.
Yeah, it was another one of those SEC schedules because you were talking about how do all these teams play all these teams and none of these other teams play the rest of these teams.
Yeah, it's just like it didn't make any sense to me.
But while we're at it, let's keep moving. So let me double back to Morgantown real quick. Because Friday, like West Virginia went all out, and it looks like Boston College just scored another touchdown, but there's a flag down. Mr. Logical's way ahead of me, so don't tell me nothing. It's against Florida State, so never mind. Sam, but Monongalia County out in West Virginia gave everybody Friday off of school because Penn State was coming to town for the first time since 1992, hadn't beat Penn State since 1988. So, I was letting everybody in Morgantown know, protect your couches because these people will run up in your house and steal these couches so they can set them on fire after this game. But then I also said Penn State was fortunate that this wasn't a night game.
Why is that?
Because I just thought that with a night game, the environment, it was going to be so raucous, like they had all day to drink, like it was going to be nuts up in there. But you play them at noon, some people still, I'm sure they're drunk already, but they're not as rowdy. So West Virginia played tough for a quarter and then, went to halftime 20-6. So if you're West Virginia, you said to yourself, you know what? We gave up some big plays. We missed some tackles. We're still in this game. And then I turned on the TV so I can get back to the game. And there was the day after tomorrow storm going on. And that's when I knew West Virginia was done. When I saw that storm, I was like, nope. And remember, I asked in the chat, does this game or does this storm, does it hurt Penn State or does it hurt West Virginia? And you told me it hurts West Virginia because they were the underdog.
Yeah, the underdog needs to be out. The underdog needs pressure needs to apply pressure to the favorite and keep it on. If the score was even reversed, if West Virginia was up at the delay, I still would have given the edge to Penn State because it would have been like the calm. They would have got to sit and relax because a lot of these games where it comes down to the underdog winning is that you get a pick six. So the game is you got a team like for instance like Boston College right now. They're up 15. Florida State gets a pick six right now. It changes the momentum. Now Boston College has to go right back out on the field. Last play was 45 seconds ago. It was a pick six. Now the game is 28-20. I got to go back out there. But with the delay, it let everything kind of calm down, regroup the game plan. Guys got treatment. Guys got to relax. Maybe some guys slept. Who knows? And then they came back out there and they was like, all right, we're Penn State. Let's go ahead and get this touchdown. We're up 21. Now let's just use our esteemed talent to keep this game, keep this team at bay. They were busting through the line. They were just running over the West Virginia quarterback was just taking hits probably every drive.
And there's only so much West Virginia quarterback.
Yeah, I think they said he's listed like 5'11", 205, so he's probably 5'10", 190. I think top schools, when you have the advantage physically, you have to imprint that on the other team. They have to know like, we're in a battle with a team that man to man will beat us.
You ready for my stat of the day?
Let's hear it.
Nick Singleton. I talked about Penn State's run game. Andy Koltnicki coming in from Kansas as the offensive coordinator. Creative run game. So he had a 40-yard touchdown run in this game against West Virginia. Last year, no rushes of 40 yards. Now, why did I feel like that was important? Because 2 years ago, he led the nation with 7. So, so Penn State in the open field, break open the running game, they give you something else to think about. And like I said, when I looked at their schedule, they usually lose to Ohio State and Michigan. But Correct. They only played one of them this year. Yeah. They only play Ohio State this year. And, while we're talking about the Big Ten, let me make a stop in Eugene real quick. What the hell were the Oregon Ducks doing the other day against the Idaho Vandals? Now, I would like to think.
Maybe.
I would like to think they were holding back. They were holding the playbook back. They were trying to get out of there with an easy win because they do play Boise State this weekend. For those of you keeping track at home, but what threw me off about Oregon and just looking at this game, Dylan Gabriel went over 400 or 380 yards. He was something like 41 for 49, and they scored 24 points against an FCS team. Now, granted, a ranked FCS team, but still.
49 passes, that many yards. You got to mix in a run game. Like, you probably would have got more points if they would have popped a few more runs. I'm gonna check their rushing attempts, the total number of rushing attempts.
Yeah, he went 380 yards, and this was a 17-14 game. In the fourth quarter,
the top running back had 15 carries. Jordan James had 15 carries.
And then 41 to 49. He threw 49 passes, and they scored 24 points. But I brought that up because, like I said, they played Boise this weekend. Ashton Genty against Georgia Southern on the road. 20 rushes, 267 yards, 6 touchdowns. That's coming to Eugene this weekend. Mr. Logical's G5 representative for the playoffs.
Yeah, I like it.
There you go.
I'm feeling more confident about it. I think some like, I know we talk about the transfer portal and everything requires balance. I think some guys are in college too damn long.
Like this guy on Miami that his 9th season.
Yo, he was in college with Justin Herbert. He caught a touchdown pass from they graduated. They were in the same high school graduating class. And Justin Herbert's on his 2nd contract in the NFL. So and on top of that, he only had like 8 catches last year. It's not like he's out here like maybe bordering on being an NFL tight end. It's like you had 8 catches last year, and I think 9 his last healthy year, something like that. It's like, I'm not trying to shit on them, but it's like,
no, it just is what it is.
Like
just like I said about DJU. Like earlier when I did my preview for this game tonight, I talked about DJU, and I said he's a bum, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean it factually.
Like, you might need to he probably was better off trying to make a practice squad.
Maybe.
Like trying to make the Dolphins practice squad, getting, 20, I think like 25 grand a week or something like that to be a practice squad player.
All right. So I'm going to make a quick assumption.
Going to class? You think he's going to class?
I'm going to make a quick assumption real quick. I don't think that you had your eyes on Lubbock, Texas this past weekend.
Not a lot of Texas Tech.
Yeah. So Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, the wild card in the Big 12, if their quarterback can stay healthy, they can play spoiler, gave up 506 passing yards to Abilene Christian University. They won.
Abilene's a tough town. Abilene's a tough town.
Abilene went for 2 in overtime and didn't get it. But let's hit closer to home for you. What the hell happened to the Hokies?
Listen, man, it happens. It's an SEC school. They have SEC talent, and if you
Vanderbilt don't got no SEC talent.
If you don't play well, it happens. Like, for instance, this game we're watching now with Boston College and Florida State. Shout out to Bushy, just commented about the ex-MLB player.
Hold on, real quick.
He has a nice little bet going on. He's a New England guy. So he has a nice bet going right now for Boston College that's going to pay out. I'll send it to you after the game, but I don't want you to see what it is now.
Real quick, do you know who Vanderbilt's quarterback is?
Honestly, it was so much football on that game.
I only know who he is because of Sports Reports' order. So his name is Diego Pavia.
That's the guy from New Mexico State that went
pissed on New Mexico's field. For the bowl game, he pissed on their field when they were using their practice facilities. And then, of course, he led the charge into Auburn last year, went into Jordan-Hare and won by 3 touchdowns. So, yeah, like, he's talented. I wouldn't say that Vanderbilt has SEC talent, but I tried to warn everybody about Virginia Tech, right? I said they went 6-7 last year. They bring back 19 starters. They were a trendy pick, But we sat up here and I said, who did they beat last year? And I went 3-9 Pitt, 3-9 Virginia, 3-9 whoever else. It was a whole bunch of mid packs and worse than that. So, like, should I be surprised that Virginia Tech lost this game to Vandy? Maybe not, but coming into the season, we tried to warn everybody, don't drink the Hokie juice. We told you that.
Yeah.
Then, coming back down to the state of Texas, how about my upset pick blowing up in my face? The Notre Dame Fighting Irish coming into College Station and punking the Aggies all over College Station.
I mean, it's two ranked teams playing. Florida State just got jammed up too, but that guy was being held on that screen pass. You can hold behind a line, but not ahead of the line of scrimmage. But
Notre Dame literally, I don't know what Connor Wegman was on. 12 of 30 for 100 yards. This is a college quarterback, and this is not a first-time starter either. That equals out to 3.3 yards per completion. His QBR 31.8
out of 0 to 100.
Yes, and so Notre Dame came in. Jeremiah Love showed some toughness. So the running game looks a little bit better without Audric Estime than I thought it would to start the season. Marcus Freeman, the head coach at Notre Dame, already has as many ranked wins as Brian Kelly had when he was the coach at Notre Dame. And, this is only year 3 or 4 for him. A&M averaged 3.4 yards on first down. They ran the ball every conceivable first down that you could think of. So there was no unpredictability at all. Colin Klein came in from Kansas State. So same questions that I had about Garrett Riley. Is Connor Wegman not the guy to run his system? Because I thought of Colin Klein as an innovative, creative offensive coordinator. And, there was the thing with Mike Elko walking down the sideline screaming, run the fucking ball, run the fucking ball. And it's like, yo, you are running the ball. 3.4 yards a carry. How about you don't run the ball?
Run it effectively.
Run it effectively. How about that? So now A&M, they get their cupcake. And then what's interesting about that? They go to the swamp after that. So,
we'll see if Napier still has his job.
Yeah,
I'm watching Florida State here, and what I'm seeing with DJ Ungalele, I don't know if he is seeing like the route combinations. Like he's processing like a freshman. Like he's processing like he's not out there like he's been in college for 5 years.
Well, you figure, Clemson basically gave him the boot. He went from a national title contender, went out to Corvallis, Oregon, played in the Pac-12, had a good team, but somehow only completed 57% of his passes. He started this game 8 of 21. He last week against Georgia Tech, we talked about it, 12 for 14, 96 yards in the first half, negative air yards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know.
I don't know if he's playing conservative or if he's just playing. Like, is there a backup there that could take his job?
Well, they have Brock Glenn, who was the third string last year. So he played in the final 2 games, or the final 3 games, I should say. He played in the Florida game, after the backup got hurt. He played in the ACC title game.
Is he a big arm guy?
He's a big arm guy that was recruited by Ohio State, but he's a sophomore. And he played in the Orange Bowl against Georgia. So, and then Mike Norvell, I guess, at that point. And there's Florida State going for it on 4th and 16 to no avail. But yeah, so he has a strong arm. He can move. I'm not saying he's fast, but he can move.
Yeah,
but he's got to be better than what I'm seeing right now.
Your quarterback doesn't need to run 4.3s and 4.4s. They just need to be able to get out of the way. They need to be more mobile than Tom and Peyton. That's it.
Yeah,
I think the way Justin Herbert moves is probably like that is a perfect speed for your quarterback.
Yes, sir. Go Beavs. I'm down with the Beavs. I love Beaver. But
that's Bushy just trolling because he sees you're a Florida State guy and he's a Boston College. Well, he's a Notre Dame guy, but he's a
it's all good.
Guy.
I fuck with Boston College. Like back in the day when I was trying to be a Catholic before the Catholic Church rejected me, I chose Boston College over Notre Dame. Boston College was my Catholic school of choice.
Yeah,
So
I
then,
mean,
of course,
Boston College got Matt Ryan all those years in Atlanta, so I'm thankful for that.
oh yeah, and Matt Ryan was my favorite quarterback, and that was why, because of that Thursday night game against Virginia Tech. I know you remember that.
I
You
remember
know,
that. Yeah,
yeah,
that's why I was mad when they drafted him, but he soon became my favorite Falcon.
yeah, like that was when he became Matty Ice. Was that
The
throw against
greatest Falcon.
Virginia
My
Tech?
favorite Falcon is still Michael Vick, but the greatest Falcon is Matt Ryan.
Yeah, you down with the mid packs? We know. And then, so of course, LSU and USC capped off last night. Very entertaining game. It was nice to see USC actually being able to hold up physically against LSU, because I thought LSU's offensive line was going to manhandle them.
It
What did
was a
you
good
see?
game. It was a good game. Like I said, I think Dexmeyer is probably they're gonna have to find a way to wiggle and get their playmakers the ball in space, because at the speed you have with these guys that played on LSU, the speed size combination you have, get the ball to these guys in space, get it to them early, um, and see what they can do. I mean, we see they've been pumping out wide receivers for the last decade, from Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, apparently their latest wide receiver likes to play with AKs or something.
Oh, he did the gun gesture and got a penalty for it. You got to keep your head, and that's the thing that I was talking about with Malik Neighbors. The shit you could do, the shit talking at a press conference. That's probably the best time to do it, because it's clear,
Right.
and it's not gonna get you a penalty. You can talk all the shit in the press conference, but on the field, just play, because that's where it's gonna matter. You can talk afterwards, like Dion does. You talk to shit on the court. Gary Payton's
Do
famous
you
for it.
believe?
But sometimes in college, you got to recognize, like, yo, we're getting penalized for this. Let's get it together. Guys waving their fingers at refs. I mean, at incomplete passes. I've seen a ref give a few warnings, and I get it. These guys are at peak emotions, but you got to keep it together. You definitely can't do anything violent. So no neck stuff, no perceived gang signs, and no gun stuff. You may even a too small might be like the borderline. I think that is probably going to get you. That's probably going to get you a penalty. But I think anything after that, fine. High five your teammates, show off with them, chest bump, do all your stuff on the sideline with the turnover chains. Michigan was doing, I think they were doing Cartier glasses or something. If you got a turnover, one got reversed and the guy had to get his glasses back, so that was pretty funny.
Speaking of
But yeah, I
Michigan,
like LSU, and USC was a good game. I think LSU bounces back. But Brian Kelly has to stop doing this self-loathing shit that he does all the time and stop whining. I'm like, you're supposed to be a leader of men. Stop saying I'm so upset with my team. We don't care. Stop trying to win the fucking press conference.
I saw a clip today
I can't
where
stand
he
that.
was at Notre Dame, and they won the game. They won the game against Florida State. But he said, that the players should be executed. Last night, he talked about how their quarterback outplayed our quarterback. He's beating the table about the penalties. And I'm like, the penalties are a reflection of you, and then LSU in the second half, they were effective at running the football, but they just didn't stick to it enough. Both quarterbacks completed more than 75% of their passes. So the defenses aren't as improved as they looked. They just did better in the red zone.
Yeah, you bend, don't break.
Yeah,
That's a lot of times when you have that subpar defense. I remember when the Falcons had one. It was like, listen, we're play fast, and then when we get in the red zone, we got to tighten up, because if you can overplay it and you're giving up bigger plays, if they move it down the field, just keeping the field goal attempts, and you get the guy. I think USC missed a field goal from
they did
22, 23 yards. Yeah, chip shot. It was like an extra point.
And LSU finished with 10 penalties for 99 yards. They did finish with 6 minutes more time of possession, but we talked about this. Both teams came in with their new defensive coordinators, and the turnaround that D'Anton Lynn had at UCLA. If USC can play defense similar to this, get a little bit better, they could be a factor in the Big Ten race. They got Penn State coming in. They play Michigan. They miss Ohio State. They miss Oregon somehow. You would figure that they would keep the West Coast schools playing each other as far as travel, reasons, I guess. But speaking of Michigan, real quick before we move on, Donovan Edwards, 11 rushes for 27 yards against Fresno State. You got the Longhorns coming in this weekend. It was a 16-10 game against Fresno State with about 6 minutes left, and Will Johnson, the best corner in the nation, with the pick six, and that just kind of blew the game open. But again, is this Michigan holding something back? So also when I look at Michigan,
I think they just started. I think Michigan's coach, when he was a sub for Harbaugh last year, the substitute, and he ran the ball the entire second half against Penn State. He is going to play. He's probably more conservative than.
He was an offensive lineman in college. You know what I mean?
He's going to be conservative, and I think he went conservative with the starter that he picked. Unless he plans on unveiling Orgy a little bit more next week. I don't know why you hold back. I think you just
because Orgy can't throw to save his life.
Well, get him deep post routes.
But he's quick enough. But Michigan does the Clemson thing.
Roll right, and throw it as far as you can down this side and have this guy come get it.
Michigan doesn't have an established NIL. Michigan should have been in the transfer portal for a quarterback if that's the case. In the transfer portal for a wide receiver. They got Samaj Morgan, but nothing else.
They have good boosters. They
do, but they just don't do NIL. They just don't do it. It's not a thing.
They have some good packages. Guys that get checks.
It's not a thing. And of course, lastly, my guy, Teteroa McMillan, who I said was the best wide receiver in college football, 10 catches, 304 yards, 3 touchdowns. Even though their defense somehow gave up 39 points to the New Mexico Lobos. So the New Mexico Lobos scored more points on Arizona than they did on FCS Montana State in the game that they lost last week. So it's that time now. NFL starts on Thursday. So before we get into these bold predictions, Mr. Logical, real quick, because the game is going to be on when we start on Thursday. So what is your pick for Thursday?
Kansas City. Keep it simple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm picking Kansas City too, surprisingly. Yeah. I'm picking Kansas City as well, so we'll see. But yeah, let's get to these hot takes, you know what I'm saying? So we decided, it's time for the NFL season. It's time to get bold, you know what I'm saying? Anybody can sit up here and say, hey, the Chiefs are going to be good. 49ers are going to be good. So let's talk about something crazy. So, Mr. Logical, what is your first bold prediction?
My first bold prediction is, I want to say it's a bold prediction, but I think the way it plays out is going to be bold. I got Devontae Adams doing a TO, doing sit-ups in a driveway kind of movement to get out of Las Vegas.
What?
Like just that whole, I'm not coming to work dealing with this shit. I'm not running these routes across the middle, and they're gonna be at his house. He's gonna like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm in here playing Madden, texting Aaron Rodgers. Like I think it's gonna be one of those. It could come off as unprofessional, but I just have a feeling where it's just gonna be like, you know what? I'm not coming to work for this because you got Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. They didn't even entertain. Like, I don't know how many phone calls the GMs made to try to move up to really get Michael Penix. I think they could have got the 7. Realistically, I think because we had Tennessee at 7. Who was at 7 this year in the draft?
Yeah, it was Tennessee.
It was Tennessee at 7, taking Joe Alt. I think the Raiders probably could have got the 7 and then got their way back to 10 and still got an Alt.
I'm shaking my head at Florida State, not him.
Yeah. So I think, but it just didn't, that didn't play out. They didn't get, it's like, it just feels as if Devontae Adams, we saw him mic'd up on receiver last year, and you had Jimmy Garoppolo, a guy who's played in some championship games, who's been on a championship team in New England. He was in the Super Bowl, had a lead, and he was sick of him.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine what he's going to do when Gardner Minshew just fumbles in crunch time or throws a bad pick on a route when Devontae is running a certain route and he throws it wrong. But I got him doing like some obnoxious, like, get me the hell up out of here, very public get me up out of here. I want to go to the Jets. Kind
Okay.
of bold move.
I hope you're right, Unc. Dallas won't win 9 games. That's a pretty bold prediction. Team is what 12-5 the last couple years, and
Yeah, but they got 9 home games.
you know, so
So 9 home games. You
I mean, hey,
figure
it's bold,
not,
right?
it's bold, but yeah, they got 9 home. They got 9 home games this year because I think the NFC gets the 9 home games this year, and the AFC gets the 8.
So I tried to rank mine from least bold to bold. So I'm gonna start off a little light here. So there is a team that has their bye in week 12. I think their coach is fired by week 8. This team is coached by a former Super Bowl champion. They just paid their quarterback $55 million for some strange reason. So Doug Peterson.
What?
Out.
It's fired?
Out by week 9.
What's their record? What's the record that gets them fired?
They're going to be 4-5.
4-5 gets them fired?
They're going to get, it's going to be fired because they're just going to look so putrid because when you look at their schedule, of course, they start off with Miami on the road. They start out with Cleveland, and then they go to Buffalo and Houston back to back. So they're looking at 1-3. Then they get Indianapolis, they get Chicago, and they get New England. But then they get Green Bay, go to Philly. So I think that when they play Green Bay and Philly and lose by more than 13 points plus in each of those games, enough is enough, and it's time for a change. No Owen Hart.
You think that, I mean, it is bold, but $55 million.
Because you can't fire Trevor Lawrence.
But you gave Trevor Lawrence the $55 million based off of. I'm just talking about I think your bold prediction is legit. But if I'm Jacksonville, I don't what you got to give me 2-7 maybe, but 4-5. I think you talk yourself into keeping them.
Maybe
2, because that was going to be my bold prediction because I don't like Sean Payton. Because I was going to be 2-7, Sean Payton gets fired. And the reason that's bold is because, like I said, rumor has it he's getting $20 million over a year for his contract. So it's bold because it's year 2 of his contract. They're already paying Russ essentially 70 or 80 million over the next 2 years. So for them to fire Sean, but it had to be 2-7. But I looked at their schedule and I was like, I could coach this team to 5-4 in 9 games because they have the easiest first 8 games I've ever seen. So I had to be realistic. Even though I don't like him, I don't think that'd be the thing. If he has a quarterback problem, I know Jerry Cinnamon is not happy with not being named a starter. So I think maybe that backfires.
Still got a battle with Zach Wilson.
And I think Zach is saying all the right things, but
yeah.
Doug Peterson fired. That's pretty bold. That's pretty bold.
What else you got for us?
All right, so I got another team with a coach I think that's going to be fired rather soon. I got Derek Carr getting benched early in the year by week 5. Spencer Rattler takes over. Serious contender for Offensive Rookie of the Year just because he doesn't like Caleb Williams. He can talk all the shit he wants in public. I know him and Caleb did not get along at Oklahoma. He took his job at Oklahoma. Everyone's saying Caleb Williams is going to be the Offensive Rookie of the Year. I got Spencer Rattler taking over for Derek Carr early in the season. I'm giving about 12 or 13 games where Spencer Rattler is going to be the starter. Dennis Allen's going to be fired. The new guy's going to come in. Derek Carr is going to be gone or benched. Spencer Rattler takes over. Little Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger-esque kind of nice little run, Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I like Spencer Rattler. Coming out of the draft, a lot of people were on him, and I didn't really, not that I didn't get it, but it just felt like one of those group think things where one person
it was partial group think, but keep in mind he was a number 1 recruit out of high school.
Right.
The Netflix show did not help him. And I do not believe Netflix has done one since then because Sam Hartman was in that show too. I believe it was Sam Hartman, Spencer Rattler, and there's another kid out of Florida who was an undersized guy and ended up going to Kentucky. So you probably know who he is. He went to Kentucky. I think he played a couple years in Kentucky, and I don't know, but he was undersized. I believe he was like 5'9" or 5'10". That's the one I remember. And then I believe they did one. They did another one was with a kid from New Orleans. So I believe they did like 2 seasons of it. And I believe Spencer Rattler might have been the second season that they did. And he didn't look good. He looked like a brat of a teammate. He looked like an asshole. And then I remember he had a very ambiguous like departure from the show. It was like he
So
was
you
supposed to
think he's
play
been
his
humbled
last.
now?
I think that kind of soiled people on him because, like I said, the way it ended, he had like some kind of incident at the school where he couldn't play in the playoff game, and then it was like fade to black, and it was Sam Hartman for the rest of the season. Like then they didn't really even go back to Spencer Rattler too much after that.
Okay. Okay. I
But
like
yeah,
it.
I like that. Like I said, I think he has a bigger chip on his shoulder because Caleb did come to Oklahoma, take his job, then leave, and then a new coach came in. He had to transfer to South Carolina.
All right. So
This is not looking good for DJ.
so my second bold prediction combines the two teams that you talked about, the Raiders and the Saints. So my second bold prediction is Taysom Hill will start a game at quarterback for the Raiders this season.
What? These what? How?
Taysom Hill gets traded.
He gets like $20 million
Once,
though.
I know. Once Gardner Minshew gets benched and Aiden O'Connell gets hurt, Taysom Hill is the pickup to come try to save the season.
That's an expensive pickup.
It's an expensive pickup. Hey, sometimes you got to go get your quarterback, right?
You better call Jameis.
No, Jameis is going to stay where he at because Jameis might have to play this year too. Deshaun Watson is not necessarily the quarterback with a clean bill of health either.
Oh, they signed it back in Cleveland?
As far as I know, nobody else has picked him up at this point. Okay. I know Pro Bowl Huntley went back to Baltimore.
That is crazy that he made a Pro Bowl.
And then they got DTR still up in Cleveland. So I would imagine, you would play, if he's still there, you would play Jameis before DTR.
I think you would play, well, we'll see. We'll see what this penalty is.
What I will guarantee is that DJ, you ain't starting a game in the NFL next year.
Oh, no. Like this is the end of his career.
All right.
No sportsmanlike conduct.
All right. What's your final bold prediction?
Kirk Cousins MVP. That's it. That's my bold prediction. I think
I should have said no homer picks.
That's not really a homer pick. I'm not really big on the team. I'm still thinking they're 9-8 a lot of times. But bold prediction, if it works out, I think I am not as big on the weapons as the outside audience is and the pundits are. I think the weapons are Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. But outside of those three, there's no receiver over 6 foot. Tyler Algier is a big back. The backup tight end isn't like Jonnu Smith, who's a receiving tight end. The other tight ends are more blocking tight ends. So if Kyle Pitts isn't as good as people want him to be, it's going to be tough. But if it all clicks, if it's Hockenson and Justin Jefferson 2.0 with Drake and Kyle Pitts, I think a healthy, I don't think he's going to scramble much. I think he's going to be in the pocket, getting the ball out quick. Kirk Cousins, Atlanta's the media darling now because of the Matthew Judon pick and the Justin Simmons pickup. So it's like, I think it's all kind of set up for, especially if they got Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Philly. They start out 2-1, and he's the reason that they're 2-1. Then I think that's the run. So I think Kirk Cousins MVP is a bold prediction.
Okay. Here's this undisciplined team, getting stopped on 3rd and 10 and got offensive linemen picking up personal fouls for unnecessary roughness. Of course, the second guy always gets caught, and of course, it was a flop. But
yeah,
you got to be smarter than that. All right, bold prediction time. This is the part where they take my internet away from me.
Hold on. I know I'm a little bit of ahead of you. All right.
Yeah, don't tell me nothing. Don't tell me.
Are
nothing.
you looking at the screen?
I am looking at the screen, but don't tell me nothing.
What are you at? What's your clock?
I'm at 6:14.
Okay.
I'm watching. All right, hold on. Let me see what's going to happen right here. I don't know.
Nah, just nothing crazy.
Okay.
It's just all the empty seats that are slowly
dissipating. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all right. So this is where they take my internet from me. Even my Commander fans going to hate me for this one. It does have to do with the MVP. And I know, I'm not going to flip-flop because I know you just last week or like a week and a half ago said Josh Allen was going to be MVP. And now you're giving me Kirk Cousins.
Well,
but I will
bold prediction.
I will see your Kirk Cousins. And I will raise you Jalen Hurts for MVP. It's 28-13 still with 6:04 left. BC just took over at the 20. All right, so Jalen Hurts is MVP. I saw Jalen Hurts. He is the pitcher of adversity. If you want to see resiliency, how to bounce back, he's your guy. We saw him lose his job to Tua. We saw Tua throw a touchdown pass to Devontae Smith to secure the national title. We saw Jalen Hurts sit in the background, do nothing but lead and inspire and mentor. And then when Tua got hurt in the SEC title game against Georgia, Jalen Hurts came back in and picked up the pieces. Then he went to Oklahoma, took Oklahoma to the playoffs. When you doubt Jalen Hurts is when he rises to the occasion. Jalen Hurts is on a very talented team that fell apart last year. I know you like to say that is due to the immaturity of the head coach.
Yes.
But whatever happened, it happened in Philadelphia last year. Whatever Murphy's Law, whatever could hit the fan, it did.
Absolutely.
So I already picked Philadelphia to win the division. I got them losing in the second round to San Francisco in the playoffs. But now they got their slot receiver, Jahan Dotson. They brought in Saquon Barkley to give Jalen Hurts that extra safety valve to go along with Dallas Goedert, provided he can stay on the field. So, and I think Philadelphia's defense is going to excel under Vic Fangio to the tune of something like 11 wins. So I'm taking Jalen Hurts as my MVP.
Jalen Hurts MVP. So if I had to bet pick, would be Josh Allen. Bold prediction, obviously, Kirk Cousins. I think that's the bold pick. Is Jalen gonna have a season like Lamar had, where you just were the best player on the best team, and then you made dynamic plays? Because Lamar didn't lead quarterbacks, and I don't think he led him in rush yards. I don't think he led him rush touchdowns.
He only had 5 rush touchdowns.
I think he had like 22 or so passing touchdowns.
24, yeah.
Yeah, so he had less than 30 total touchdowns. Is he gonna have to one of those years, or does he need to have like a Josh Allen kind of?
No, so I got him
passing touchdowns.
I got him at 34. I got him at 34 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 11 rushing touchdowns.
So you got him at a Cam Newton kind of year, 45 total touchdowns.
Yes, sir.
Ooh, I don't know if he liked the tush push though. I think it was some rumblings that was one of the plays, one of the problems with him and Sirianni was like, yo, I'm hurt. Shoulder, elbow, knees.
Head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
And you keep pushing me into this pile. And I think Jason Kelce was the same way. It's like He's like, it's cool that it works, but he's like, I'm literally at the bottom of this pile every single time we do it. Everyone knows it's coming and it works, but he's like, I'm literally at the bottom of this pile with two, with a whole offensive line, a quarterback, a tight end, a whole defensive line, and some linebackers on top of me for however long it takes to get the people off. I don't know if that was like a thing that he really enjoyed.
Right.
And I felt like he was always stealing, like, not necessarily on purpose, but I felt like he was like vulturing touchdowns from Swift. And I think that's why Swift is out of there. Because I saw Swift run the ball 50 yards to the 2-yard line. They did the tush push. I saw AJ Brown
Thursday night against Minnesota. Yep.
AJ Brown caught like a 40-something yard route, went out the 2. Next play, tush push. It's like, man, I ran this far. You can't give me one fade route. Do the tush push on third down. Give me the fade route on first down. Give me the handoff on second, and then we'll do the tush push on third down, or maybe save it for fourth down. Basically, it was unstoppable. But like, at least give me a shot to catch this pass.
Hey, this was a hard exercise for me. You know, I've already made some bold predictions this offseason. You know, I picked Tennessee for the playoffs.
You're pretty standard with your bold predictions.
Yeah, I picked Tennessee for the playoffs. I picked Mike Tomlin's over 500 record, you know, to fall this year. You know, so I've already been
a lot of people have been riding that wave, and it is weird considering that he has Russ and he has Justin Fields, who are NFL starters, quarterback from the quarterback position, and they're like physically dynamic. Like Russ isn't like big, but I remember when he came out, like all of his measurables, like his hand size, arm length, and everything else was like the same as Andrew Luck. It's just that he just happened to be 5'11".
Well, they got your boy Corduroy too.
Yeah, and they got Patterson. So it's like they have the pieces to be a good team. It's just that no one believes in Justin Fields or Russ. The preseason didn't do him any favors.
Jesus. No, for me, it's just the schedule. Like, you know, like it just boils down to
the schedule is criminal.
Yeah,
it should be investigated. How bad
they got the schedule that the Ravens should have. They got the schedule the Ravens should have. Shouldn't that be the first place schedule?
You shouldn't have had this on a video game. Those last 8 games don't make any sense. Because I think all their division games are in that last 8, right?
Yeah, and they got 2 or 3 teams that they're playing off of that are going to come when they're going to have a longer week, you know, as well. You know, so teams that play on, you know, Sunday nights, but then they play on Monday, or like teams that, you know, the Steelers are going to play on Thursday and these teams are playing on Monday or something along those lines. So like Cincinnati for sure, you know, and they play Cincinnati coming off a bye at that, you know. So like, yeah, it just adds up. It just adds up. Like that 3 weeks.
Your Tennessee bowl prediction is one I haven't seen replicated anywhere on the channels I've watched. I have Miami as the number 1 seed. I saw something where I read something. They had Miami. Somebody has Miami at 8 and 9.
Yeah, I saw one of their beat writers made the comment that he wouldn't be surprised if they went 7 and 10.
Yeah, and I'm like, they are.
What the hell is going on in South Beach?
It maybe Mike McDaniels is limiting access to some reporters, and they're just like he wants to be serious. You know, he has that whole.
But are they going to call him the Bruce Lee of BS?
Probably not. I mean, he's out there looking like Scarface. Like out there dealing cocaine, getting those square groupers. A lot of, like I said, a lot of your predictions just in general are, I mean, that's what we call you 2-5, are just not on the same line as status quo. The Peterson one does make sense to me because I think they're gonna need someone to get fired just because they paid Trevor that much money. Some heads are gonna roll. And you, like I said, you already signed Trevor. I probably wouldn't have done it, but with Mac Jones sitting there, Pro Bowl quarterback, you know, if you are 4 and 5, people might be looking at that. And Mac Jones from Jacksonville, so he probably has, you know, nice little people probably have memories of him from high school, and was a good quarterback, and And people probably look at Bill Belichick never gave him a fair shot. Bill O'Brien never gave him a fair shot. He was getting defensive coordinators calling plays for him. So you needed to lock Trevor Lawrence in. But yeah, Doug Peterson could go. We already talked about the guys we think are going to get fired anyway. I think we got 9 guys potentially getting fired.
Yeah.
As our bold prediction.
And I got my eye on next week because my G5 representative, the Memphis Tigers, come to Tallahassee next week. So, Mike Norvell's former school. In this now,
they might walk out with a win.
This game will now drop Mike Norvell to 2-10 at Florida State when he's not coaching Jordan Travis. So there's that for you.
Yeah, we had 8 guys potentially getting fired.
Yeah, see, there you go. We making it. We calling out names, and it wasn't just regular guys too. I threw Sean McDermott's name in there, and some other names.
You got Robert Saleh, McDermott, McCarthy, Sirianni, Allen, Dougie P, Tomlin, Eberflus. Those are our 8 guys we think, or 8 teams are going to have new coaches next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, there it is. So, both of us got the Chiefs on Thursday. Obviously, I think it's going to be a tight game, but I'm going to trust the Chiefs. And, we'll be back Thursday to not only preview college games this weekend, but we're going to be going down the NFL slate as well. So join myself and Mr. Logical Thursday, Sports Reports is ordered. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, tell Granny about it. Do all the free things. Do all the good things. We love you. And I apologize for this Florida State performance that they're making y'all watch tonight.
Hey, shout out Bushy. Just put $100 on BC to beat Florida State as we walk away with $600 courtesy of Caesar Sportsbook. So
that's what's up. They should have beat them last year. Came back from 31-10, lost by 2. Castellanos, that was the game where he announced himself. And that's why that was my question coming into this season. Is Bill going to allow Castellanos to beat Castellanos? And so far he has. So,
looks like it.
But they got Missouri in 2 weeks. Put some money on that one, Bushy. See you Thursday. Peace.
Holla.